Yo, welcome to the channel. In this video today, we're going to be going over the Magicka Templar for STONETHORN. Now, this is a very easy set to get, or it's great for beginners and intermediates. So, if you need something starting out on the Magicka Templar, or even a couple of other classes I'll go over, um, this combo will work great for you. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Max Magicka is 35k, max health is 17k, my magic recovery is 1.21 buff, my spell damage is 2.1, spell critical is 58.5%. Now, I am a Briton, so keep that in mind with your points. I have 50 into Magicka, 14 into health to put me at 17k. You want to be around 16.5 to 17.5k HP. Anywhere in between there works. You don't really want to be higher than that because it's not really going to do anything for you. You're a DPS. So, the boon that we're running is the Shadow because we have the crit at 58. So, it is a pretty solid. So, we're running the boon. We don't need the Thief. Vampirism, don't even worry about it. I was just bitten some point in time running around doing sky shards and stuff last night. I don't know when. I just noticed it now, right before I did the video. So, don't worry about vampirism. You don't really need it. Don't use nothing there. Champion points. So, we have 20 into Warlord, 21 into Sprinter, 75 Tenacity, 75 Arcanist, 34 Tumbling, 44 Shadow Ward. Now, the main ones that you want to focus on are Arcanist first, followed by Tenacity. 64 is a good spot to get these. This is where you really want those. 75 is just a little extra perk. And then you have two options after that. You can either work on Warlord and Sprinter, or you can start working on Block, Roll Dodge, or Sneak if you sneak around. Like any of those work. But you need 75 points into this tree for this passive, which is Treasure Hunter. Increases quality of items you find in treasure chests. That's trials, dungeons, overland, everything. If it's a chest, if you pop it, you have a chance to get better quality items due to this passive. So it's up to you on what you want to do. Block, roll dodge, sneak, whatever. Roll dodge is nice to have in general, but treasure hunter is the main thing out of here. Or you can work on break free and sprint if you want it to. So, Arcanist, Tenacity, and then either one of those two will work. Now in the red tree, we have 34 Ironclad, 36 Spell Shield, 34 Light Armor Focus, 64 Hardy, 64 Elemental Defender, 11 Bastion, 27 Quick Recovery. Now, Hardy and Elemental Defender are your main two starting out. Once you get those to around 64 or to a solid number to where you feel comfortable with, Ironclad is your next one. Get that to 28 at least, or 26. I think it's 28. 26, 28, whichever one's closest to the whole number going over. Then after that, you can either make yourself a little more tanky in light armor and spell shield, or increase the healing that you're getting. We don't really use a shield a whole lot because we do have a lot of healing coming our way in general. Plus, as a DPS, as a Magic Templar, you have a lot of heals yourself with your spammable. But there are some cases where we do need a shield, especially when we're doing some harder trials. So I have 11 points here just for that little extra shield strength. But you can focus on quick recovery after Ironclad and beefing up your tanks, or you can focus on quick recovery before you do light armor and spell shield. It's up to you. Now, in the blue tree, we have 56 Elfborn, 64 Elemental Expert, 22 Spell Erosion, 16 Staff Expert, 56 Master at Arms, and 56 Thermometage. Now, the main ones are Elfborn and Elemental Expert. Those are your main two here. After that, Master at Arms, Thermometage are your next two, and then Staff Expert and Spell Erosion. So, when it comes down to Master at Arms and Thermometage, you can either take them up together or you can focus on one or the other. So, it's up to you on that. But, yeah, your first one, your main two, Elfborn, Elemental Expert. You don't really, I know Blessing increases your healing done and you do have a lot of stuff heals, but you really don't need this. Between the red tree and the healing received, plus just the heals in general, you really don't need anything in Blessed here. So there's really no need to focus on that tree. 0 points there. But again, if you feel like you need it, by all means throw some points there. But Elfborn, Elemental Expert, you main two, followed by Thermometage and Master at Arms, and then Staff Expert and Spell Erosion. So that is the champion points. Now onto the sets. The sets, like I said, are both overland sets, the main ones, but we're going to focus on the monster set first. And this is a monster set that doesn't really get played with a whole lot. It got buffed in Greymore. It got changed. I believe the one piece used to be max health. They made it spell damage, and I've tried it out since, and I've been loving it. It's a very nice little set. It works pretty well, but this is Nerenth. We're running a medium helmet Divines with Max Magicka and heavy shoulders Divines and Max Magicka. It could be either way. It could be medium shoulders and heavy helmet. It doesn't matter. So as long as they're in Divines, you know, it's the best trait. Helmet can be infused, but if you don't have one in Divines, the helmet can be infused. That would be the better trait, but Divines is what you're shooting for. So what this set does, gives you spell damage. When you deal direct damage, you have 15% chance on a leech crystal that explodes after 2 seconds, dealing 12k magic damage to all enemies within 4 meters. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds. This goes off quite a bit. You know, it procs a whole lot on a Magicka Templar, probably due to jabs. You know, it hits 3 or 4 times, I think. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's all direct damage. So it tends to proc it quite a bit, and this goes off a lot. So, is this the strongest monster set? No. Right now, the strongest monster set is Maw of the Infernal, I believe. And that comes from Banished Cells 2. But Nerenth, it's really strong. It allows you to do a lot of damage, and it comes from Crypto Hearts 2. So it is a decent set. Now, if you don't really like Nerenth or it doesn't fit your playstyle, there are other options. And if you don't like Maw, I mean, I understand sometimes people don't like some of the big day draw that gets in the way, it blocks your vision. You have other options. You have Grothdar, which comes from Vaults of Madness. It's a nice little set because we are up close and personal with the enemies, so the little fire ring around us works out really well. And you also have Elambris, which comes from Crypto Hearts 1. It's a nice little set. We can proc fire damage, so it's not bad for us, but we're not really going to proc the shock element to it, so it's definitely the fire. Elambris would probably be my last choice out of all of these. If I wasn't going to go with Nerenth, I would go with Grothdar if I wasn't going to go with Maw. So number 1 choice is Maw, followed by Grothdar and Nerenth would be the 2 choices between me. Elambris is solid on a lot of classes, but for the Magic Templar, a lot of our damage is magic damage, so it's not really going to proc the Flame or Shock. So now, the first overland set that we're running is Mother Sorrow. Pretty simple, comes from Deshawn. We're running it all Divines, all Max Magicka on the body, and this increases our spell critical. That's all it does. It gives us Max Magicka, spell crit, spell crit, spell crit. That's it. That's all it's for. Deshawn Overland. Very easy to get. Can be relatively expensive if you're buying it, not farming it. For the most part, the chest, the gloves, and even the legs, and probably the boots, all those tend to be extremely cheap. I don't know why. They're mostly at 20k, but you can find the gloves around 9k to 9 to 15k. I think I got mine at one point I think I bought mine for like 10k. But the waist, on the other hand, is where it's going to get really expensive. These can run between 20k all the way up. I've seen them as high as 40, 60k. So it is best just to farm this set. It's pretty easy. It's in Deshawn, not a hard area. You can go to public dungeons. You can farm the chest, the hands, and the gloves all there. And then the waist and the boots come from delves. So just run the circle in the public dungeon, which the public dungeon is in Deshawn is right there. Just run the circle. I haven't done the quest in there, but just run the circle. I can't zoom in on it, I don't believe. Can I go in? No, I can't go in. Okay. But you can just run in there, hit the bosses, and farm that stuff. Outside of that, there's a delve right next to it, so you can go from there to there, and you can farm the waist and boots if you wanted to. So, or if you wanted jewelry, you can farm the dolmen. So you can literally, as soon as you come in from Deshawn, this comes in from Stone Falls. You can just kind of come down, cut to the, I guess, the left or right here, whichever way you want to look at it, and you can literally farm all 3, all jewelry, your clothes, weapons. If you want weapons, you can farm all that right here as soon as you come from Snowfalls into Deshawn. So, and if you're coming in from Snowfalls and you don't know the way, it's right here. You come across, it's this entrance right here. This will take you into Deshawn. So, very easy to get to. Very easy little area to farm everything. So, after you got this set, you can go into another set. This next set is from Vardenfell, and it's War Maidens. We're running it jewelry, all arcane, all spell damage, and now we're running these named weapons that are called Dark Staff for the War Maiden. They're flame staffs. They come infused. We're running 2 of them, front bar and back bar, because it's a set we want to keep active as well with the Mother Sorrow. So they both come infused. And what this does is it gives us, I'm running Absorb Magicka enchant on my front bar, and on the back bar I'm running a weapon damage enchant. Now what this set does, it gives us spell crit, max Magicka, spell damage, and then it adds 586 spell damage to your magic damage abilities. Fully golded out, this will be 600, and you can get War Maiden jewelry, gold, or you can just increase them yourself if you have the resources to do that. But 586 is still probably the highest spell damage that you're going to get from just about anything. I know a lot of sets took a hard buff, or a hard, not really a buff, but a hard nerf. Some of them, they took away the proc chance, but they lowered the damage that they give you. At one point, I think Moon Hunter was the top spell damage set, but it procced off an alchemy poison, and it gave you 600. Now, I think they dropped that to about 530 or so, or 500, somewhere around in there. So even then, at 587 or 586, War Maiden is the most spell damage you're going to get. It's not showing up on the toolkit, but almost every single one, except for maybe 1 or 2 of our damage abilities, are magic damage abilities. So this works out really well for us. And this comes from Vardenfell. Now, the staffs and stuff, the quest that you get this from is up here. Now, what you would do is that you would have to do the city quest here for Voss at the top right, and then after you finish that, it doesn't take long, somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes. There is a quest giver that will be right here off to the side, and what they want you to do is that they want you to go around and just kind of close some Daedric portals. That's it. There's 4 of them, and they're all scattered throughout the map. Basically, you just have to make a circle. Now, after you finish, you come back. Of course, there's a way shrine right there, so it's a quick, easy return. And they give you the Dark Staff of War Maiden. So, you get it infused. So if you have a couple characters that are 160 that are already leveled up, that haven't done quests in Vardenfell, just head up there, get you a buddy to port you up there, or just make a run for it. Do those quests, and you'll have both these staffs. Now, or if you don't really necessarily, if you already have some War Maiden staffs, like I've popped a few chests, and I've gotten some on my way there as well, you can always sell these. Since the update, or since the buff to the set, they sell pretty well. They sell for about 50k or so. So, by all means, it's a nice little quest to do either way to make money if you've already done it, or if you haven't done it. So, this quest is really nice. The quest is really nice because it gives you a nice infused flame staff. And we don't really need one in precise because of the fact we have Mother Sorrow. So, like I said, the sets was relatively cheap. I do believe they're still cheap. I saw War Maiden still for around 10k or so. The only thing that's kind of expensive are the weapons. But like I said, just do the quest, you'll have your flame staffs. It's nice, it's quick, it's easy, and it's real well worth it. Now, skills. Our main spammable is Puncturing Sweeps. And what this does is it launches a relentless assault, striking enemies in front of you 4 times with your Adric Spear. The spear deals 3.2k magic damage to the closest enemy and 1.2k magic damage to all other enemies. Each strike reduces the movement speed of the closest enemy by 40% for 1 second. You heal for 40% of the damage done with this ability. So, you'll see 2.2, 4.9. So we're critting quite a bit to the Mother Sorrow. 4.9, and you'll see Nerenth keeps going off. 7.6. So it's not bad. Nerenth already procced there. So even though the tooltip isn't there, and this will hit harder as you buff up, keep that in mind. So now next one is Purifying Light. You summon an expanding beam of pure sunlight to doom an enemy, dealing 4.6k magic damage to them and copying all their damage taken from you for 6 seconds and releasing 20% of it as additional magic damage to them. So this is more magic damage. Maximum copy damage is 21k. While the effect ends, a pool of sunlight remains attached to the enemy, healing you and nearby allies for 1.7k health every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. The healing, it's nice to have, and it definitely works out because this lasts for 6 seconds, and when you put it back up, it'll go off in 6 seconds. So once this explodes, by the time that this ends, the healing pool is already run out. So it does provide a little bit of extra healing for you and the tank because you're both going to be right up on the enemy. So, and it's very simple. That's what it looks like. That's it. And it does damage. So 7.3, 7.3. I mean, so it's going to do damage. And then as you're doing damage to it, it'll explode. And then there's the little healing circle around it. It's a nice little size. So you should be right there. The tank should be on the other side. So you should both be in the healing circle. So now this is kind of a flex swap. Solar Barrage. Conjure solar energy to blast enemies around you, dealing 2.2k magic damage every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. While this ability is active, you gain Empower, increasing the damage of your light attacks by 40%. Now, by itself, this does not do a whole lot of damage. As you can see, it's going to tick, and it does 3.3. But the main thing from this is the Empowered on your light attacks. 8.1, they're going to hit harder with this. So, if you're not very good at weaving in your light attacks and things like that, if you're still working on that and haven't gotten that down, you can switch it out with Vampire's Bane. This is just a nice little dot. You blast an enemy with a charge of radiant heat, dealing 4.3k flame damage, an additional 13.8k flame damage over 16 seconds. Upon activating, you gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.1. Well, we already have Major Prophecy, so we really don't need that second effect. But like I said, if you're having trouble weaving in those light attacks in between your ability, then you're really not getting the effect from Empower. Oh, I don't know why I just shot down champion points. Oh. So you're really not getting the effect from Solar Barrage. So if you wanted to, if you're having trouble weaving, go with Vampire's Bane. It's very easy. It'll do, it lasts for 14 seconds, 16 seconds. It's a little weird. And it's going to do a lot of flame damage. Now, it's not going to get the perk from War Maiden because it's not magic damage, but it's still a nice little dot. So it'll do you better. It'll do more damage than Soul Barrage will, even with War Maiden, due to the fact that you're really not light attack weaving. Because the main thing from this ability is throwing those light attacks in between your main abilities. So keep that in mind. You do have choices there. If you have trouble with that weaving, Vampire's Bane is a good alternative. Now, this is our execute, Radiant Impression. We burn an enemy with a ray of holy fire, dealing 10.3k magic damage over 1.8 seconds. Deals up to 480% more damage to enemies below 50% health. Also deals up to 20% more damage in proportion to your current Magicka. So, if you're low on Magicka, it's not going to do as much. So, as it goes down, the damage of that will go down from Radiant Impression. So I like to pop a pot right before just to get my resources back up and then Radiant. Now, it's not going to hit that hard here doing this. Not at all. I've seen people just using this in dungeons. Don't. When the boss is in execute range, that is doing nothing. Say it's hitting for 3.2, or this is going to hit for 5k on the crit. Sometimes 8. So it is better for you to use these other abilities before you just start throwing out Radiant Impression. Yes, the boss may be below 50% health, but you really don't want to use this until they're around 20%. So, do bear in mind, keep that kind of in the back of your head. So, now we have Inner Light on our front bar. While slot, your max magic is increased by 5%, and you gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.1. That's kind of all there is to it. It's just there, just to be there. You don't use it, you don't click it, it's just there. That's it. Then our ultimate on the front bar is Crescent Sweep. You swing your Adric Spear around with Holy Vengeance, dealing 8.8k magic damage to all nearby enemies and additional 4.3k magic damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. Enemies in your path will be hit for 60% more damage. So, this is the main ultimate that we're going to be using for the most part. It's just, I'll show you. That's it. Just Spear, hit for 21k, and you'll see the pulsing. Now, the more enemies that are in front of you, the more damage it's going to do. That's just, so it's best to just go in and swing this and hit as many enemies as you can. It costs 71 ultimate, so it's not much to get back. It does not take much at all to get that back. So, now, back bar, blockade of fire, slam your staff down and create a flaming barrier in front of you, dealing 1k flame damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. So, this is a flame damage ability, but it's nice to have this now. It's a nice little dot. You kind of want this now. And its main purpose is really going to be, once you get your Maelstrom weapon, let's increase the damage from the Maelstrom staff. That'll give your light attacks more damage as well. So get used to trying to have this down at all times, because that'll make your it'll help you get used to your Maelstrom weapons. So now, Blazing Spear is our next ability. Send your spear into the heavens to bring down a shower of divine wrath, dealing 8.4k magic damage to enemies in the area, and additional 840 magic damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. An ally near the spear can activate the Blazing Shard synergy, restoring 3.9k Magicka or stamina, whichever maximum is higher. Now, I know this is level 1, and for the most part, I've been using the other Morphous Spear, which basically gave back more resources, but didn't do as much damage because I wanted to be more of a, to kind of help out. Other people, they pop the shards, they get more resources back. I figured that was better. But if you want to focus on your damage alone, if you don't really care about that, Blazing Spear is the morph to go. If you want to kind of help out the group a little bit, the other morph of this, the one that will give back more resources, is the one to, is nice as well, but the damage just isn't the same. So now we have Degeneration as well. Oh, one last thing. You don't want to have Blazing Spear on your front bar with Spear. The reason being is because of the Arctic Spear line. We're really only using 2 abilities from this line. Now, if you're using your shield, you can use Sun Shield, then it would probably be fine. But for the most part, the average, you're only going to be using Piercings, Puncturing Sweeps, and Blazing Spear for PvE. Most of this other stuff is good for PvP, but in PvE, Blazing Spear and Puncturing Sweeps are going to be the 2 abilities that you're using. And you want one on each bar. So you want Blazing Spear on your back bar, so that way the passive here, increase your critical damage by 10%. That's it. That's why we have this here. And then when you deal damage with an Adric Spear ability 4 times in rapid successions, you deal 5k magic damage to your target, whichever is higher. So it just works out. Plus it gives you minor protection for 6 seconds, reducing damage taken by 8%. So now this is all while having an Adric Spear ability, and this is with an Adric Spear ability slotted. So these are 2 different things. I know when you look at these, sometimes you think they're the same thing, but they're really not. So basically, having Spear and Blazing Spear on your back bar will give you this proc from your passive. But in order to get this passive, you have to have your Spear down, and you'll see it proc down there next to the Vampirism, in between which most potent brew. You'll see it last for 6 seconds. Now, it does not refresh, because we didn't throw the ability back down. But when we jab, we're going to get that proc again for 6 seconds. So keep that in mind. It does refresh as you use it. So as long as you have ability on your bar at all times, as long as we have one on each bar, it will keep refreshing. So we will have that. We will have minor protection at all times, pretty much. So we'll reduce that damage we take by 8%. So just keep that in mind. That's also one of the reasons why we have one of those. That's why we have Blazing Spear on the back bar and Puncturing Sweeps on the front bar. That's why you want that to happen. So, anyways, on to the next ability. Degeneration. Combining enemy with a chaotic magic, dealing 13.8k magic damage over 10 seconds. Assess magic spills out from them, granting you major sorcery, increasing your spell damage by 20% for 20 seconds. This is a nice dot. 13.8. It can crit over 10 seconds. So, and this is going to give us major sorcery. So we get major prophecy from this, and we get major sorcery from this, which gives us the opportunity to use trash pods. So if you don't have spell power pods, this combo is pretty good to have, because it allows us to not have to use them. And then channel acceleration. You bend time and space around you, gain major expedition for 12 seconds and minor force for 36 seconds. Increase your movement speed by 30% and your critical damage by 10%. Now, if you do not, this is from the Sigil skill line, and you know, you start that in Somerset, you do that major quest for Razum Dar as soon as you step off the way shrine, and it'll take you into Artaeum to where you can get your Sigil skill line opened. Now, if you do not have this, replace it with Barb Trap. But starting out, if you have not leveled up your fire skill, because I think you unlock Barb Trap, I think at level 9, 8 or 9, one of them two, that is pretty high up. So if you're just doing your quest, doing basic stuff, you might not have Barb Trap unlocked, or Trap Beast. My bad, Barb Trap is the morph that you would use. Sigil is probably easier to get, to be honest with you. So Sigil, you just have to level up, I think, to level 4, which is just doing some simple stuff, very just kind of seek and find. I mean, it's nothing too complicated. So this is probably easier to get than leveling up fire skill. You know, it's probably not necessarily easier, because all you gotta do is kill zombies, you know, undead stuff, do dolmens. That'll level up your fire's line, but when it comes to quickness, this will probably be quicker to get than those. So just with everyone, you need one or the other for minor force. That's your main thing, is that you want it for minor force. So keep that in mind. And then we have Inner Light again on our back bar. If you have to use a shield, replace Inner Light. Or if you're using spell power pots, replace Degeneration. Either one of them. So, and then on our back bar we have Fiery Rage, we have Catalytic Storm at the target location that builds for 2 seconds, then lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 8.5k flame damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. This is not the ultimate we're using. This is just kind of here just in case, because this does work out pretty well with Necro Ultimate, but for the most part, the ultimate that we're using is Crescent Sweep. That's the main one we're going to use. So, looking at the abilities, magic damage, 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 flame, flame. That's it. So, and then of course, if you're having trouble with the Empowering Light, you swap this out to Vampire's Bane. That is fire damage. So, the primary of your abilities are magic damage. So, War Maiden syncs up really well with the Magic Templar. It also syncs up really well with a Magicka Nightblade. So you can run this exact setup on a Magicka Nightblade and be absolutely fine. No problem at all. So, rotation wise, you're going to hit this. As you can see, it pops up, lasts 36 seconds. So, you're going to pop your pot. I also like to hit Solar Barrage. Get that going, because it lasts for 10 seconds. So, this, pop your pot, Solar Barrage, Bar Swap, Degeneration, Blazing Spear, Wall of Elements, Power of the Light, Jab. Of course, you're going to light attack in between each one. You'll be able to get off about 3. Bar Swap, Degeneration, Blazing Spear. I threw Blazing Spear by accident. Bar Swap, Solar Barrage, Purifying Light, Jabs. That's pretty much, and then you'll use your ultimate. Sometimes I like to go in reverse. I'll wait. And then you just do that. Once boss gets under 20, you can back off and just execute. As you see, it does 31.9, now 16 instead of the 5k that it was at. So we'll just burn this down. You do kind of want to keep your dots down for the most part. It's not bad. This is not a hard-hitting class or setup. For the most part, you're going to pull somewhere between 27 and 31k. You know, I've hit 31k once or twice. But for the most part, you're averaging 28.2 to 29.3. That's what I am with this setup. So, should at least do fine with it, getting through to get your in-game gear or get better setups. Mother Sorrow is great for any class all around. You can run this even in the in-game. That's great. War Maiden, it's going to fall off because of the fact that once you get your Maelstrom weapons, this is not going to be static. So when you bar swap, when you have your Maelstrom, you're going to lose that extra 586. So it is going to fall off compared to something like Burning Spellweave, Scathing Mage, Sororias, whatever. You know, it will fall off. So you kind of will replace this with something else that will stay static even when you bar swap. So you'll get more damage output then. So, but this is pretty much it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you run this setup on anything. Let me know if you've got what's you're running on your Magicka Templar. As always, until next time, take care.